This is Calm AF, a podcast for humans who are hard on themselves. A podcast for the overthinkers, people pleasers, perfectionists, and overachievers. I'm Kristen Finch, and I'm going to teach you how to quiet that incessant negative chatter in your head. Because you know what a person with a calm mind can do? Anything they want. Grab your coffee, gorgeous soul, because today's the day you get Calm AF. Hello, gorgeous soul. Welcome to Calm AF. We are moving into part 7 of the Dysregulated Nervous System series. And if you haven't listened to parts 1 through 6, you really want to. You really want to go back and do that at some point, because the more understanding you have of your nervous system, how your nervous system works, what your patterns are, the more likely it will be that you will be able to add more ease, more calm, more intention to your life in a sustainable way, right? Not just changing what the outside looks like, but really changing your life for real, for good. If you want to stop getting stuck in the same place, stop attracting the same things into your life, stop repeating the same patterns, you really need to understand the kind of patterns, all of the things that I have talked about in parts 1 through 6. And today we are going to talk about the golden rule. The golden rule of Calm AF, which is nervous system first. Nervous system first, always. We call it #NSF. Nervous system first. Before you make a decision, before you set an intention, before you work on a project, before you say yes, before you say no, before you answer a call, before you have a conversation, before you hit send, you are going to want to drill this into your mind. If there's one thing you take away from my entire podcast, all 290 some episodes, it is nervous system first. Because once you do that, everything else can change. The goal of everything that I offer, my coaching, my program, my podcast, is to help people understand nervous system first, because that is what will allow you to move the default setting, right? I talk about the Calm AF scale, goes from -10 to +10, and we spend most of our time in a dysregulated state, and we occasionally dip into like a Calm AF regulated energy. What I want you to be able to do is to move more into that you spend more time, your default setting is regulated, in between that like -4 to +4 on the scale. More time in Calm AF energy with the occasional dips into hypervigilance or hypovigilance. Okay? That happens with the golden rule, nervous system first. It will literally change everything if you use it. You can't just know it, you have to practice it. That's what I tell my clients. This is why I think it's important to actually do a program like Calm AF Life or work with someone on this, because your nervous system doesn't just change because you know it, because you think about it. It changes when you are practicing it, when you have accountability, when you have consistency. So if you don't have that, I would say to join Calm AF Life or find yourself someone who's going to really, not a friend, like a therapist or someone who's going to hold you accountable to this. So the golden rule of Calm AF is nervous system first, because your life is curated based on the state of your nervous system, right? The state of your relationships, the state of your home, the state of your overall well-being is shaped by the state of your nervous system. Your life today, as it looks right now, your relationships, your home, all of the things was created based on the state of your nervous system. And your future is being created right now based on the state of your nervous system. Which means if there is something that you aren't loving about your life right now, if there is a pattern that you are ready to be done with, this like hypervigilance and vacillating and in shutting down and burning out, and then pulling yourself back together and doing it all over again, if you're ready for that to change, if there's something else in your life you'd like to change, something you want to up level, then you need to be focused on your nervous system first. First. It reminds me of the book. I'm sure most of you know the book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Right? This is how I think about it. If you want to change your life in any way, sustainably, not just these quick changes, because some of you are like, well, if my life is based on the state of my nervous system, like, and I have this very successful career, well, obviously then I need to keep up this hypervigilant thing in order to be successful. No. There is a different way. There is a more sustainable way. There is a way to have success that you don't have to constantly be burnt out or resentful or overwhelmed or exhausted. But in order to do that, if you want to change your life so that it feels better, so that you have the success that you want and it doesn't feel impossible, you have to change the way you're thinking. You have to change your thoughts. You have to start being an intentional thinker. And you have to do this at the belief level, not just the, I understand this on a cognitive level. How often do you say that? People say that to me all the time. I will give them some sort of like coaching and they'll be like, well, yeah, logically, I know that I'm worthy. Logically, I know that I don't have to hustle, but, and it's whatever comes after the but that you believe actually at the subconscious level. And what you believe at the subconscious level is your nervous system pattern. So if you want to change not just what you know logically, but what you actually know at the subconscious level, you have to change your nervous system patterns. So if you give a mouse a cookie, you want to change your thoughts. First, you have to observe them, right? But what happens? What happens when you stop just trying to fix your thoughts and you observe your thoughts? You will notice there are some feelings that are showing up. And when those feelings show up, you will probably feel overwhelmed by them, right? Because ultimately, the reason why we have our nervous system stories is because we are overwhelmed by our feelings. We're afraid of our feelings. We have no idea how to feel our feelings. We know how to fix them. We know how to avoid them. We know how to shove them down. We know how to push through, right? So if you want to change your thoughts, you have to observe them. If you are observing your thoughts, you're going to notice some feelings. When these feelings show up, especially the non-preferred feelings, this is when you will revert to your old habits, your old patterns, in an attempt to avoid that sense of overwhelm. So, in order to feel your feelings without going back to that pattern, reacting to them, or running away from them, you will need a true understanding of what feelings are and what they're not. And when you begin to understand that feelings are just feelings don't control you. Feelings are not dangerous. They are not emergencies. When you learn this, you can safely examine what triggers them, right? You're able to see, oh, every time I have a conversation with this person, I go straight into hypovigilance. I go straight into hypervigilance, right? When you are able to see that, then you'll be able to sit with your feelings long enough to understand them. And in order to do that, in order to be able to go into the feelings room, which we're going to talk about another time, but in order to sit peacefully in a room with anger or guilt or sadness long enough to process them and release them, you are going to have to regulate your nervous system first. Okay? So, you want to feel your feelings so you can choose empowered and intentional thoughts, so you can stop repeating old patterns and live a life that you genuinely enjoy. Nervous system first. Nervous system first. It always is going to come back to your nervous system. If that's the only thing that you ever practice, it's like every few hours, you're like checking in on your level of dysregulation and you're choosing to see if you can regulate yourself a little bit, you will change your life. Because in order to change your life at the identity level, right, at the nervous system level, which means you don't want to just keep changing your external environment trying to feel better, but then realize you've created the same thing. It just looks different, right? Like you quit your job because you hate it, but you haven't attended to your thoughts and feelings at a nervous system level. So you go to a new job where you're like, this will be better. And you find yourself doing the exact same thing, like nervous system first. You need to take your time retraining your nervous system. That will change everything. Moving your default setting baseline on that Calm AF scale to be Calm AF will change everything. So whenever I talk about this, one of the best known examples, you've probably heard of this, of what happens when your external world changes, but your nervous system story is still your old story, right? If you like not changing your story at the identity level, one of the best known examples is the lottery winners, people who win the lottery. They actually call it the curse of the lottery winners. And what does this mean, right? So someone who doesn't have a lot of money wins the lottery. It's a dream come true, right? All of a sudden, this thing that I've always believed is the problem, and having money is the answer to all my problems. Now I have financial freedom. Now I can do all the things that I've never been able to do. They win the lotto and this curse shows up and they end up like not just losing all of their money in a very quick way. It's usually like a very impressive like crash and burn. Like they don't just lose it. They lose it in a very like, substantial way. Like what just happened? There's actually like studies on this where, they squander their wealth to the point where like not only do they end up where they started, but almost worse off than where they started. So why does this happen? Because people who change their external circumstances go from having no money to having money, but they haven't changed their stories at the nervous system level will continue. They'll have a different external situation, but their internal thoughts and stories will be the same. So if their thoughts were, I don't know how to handle money, or I'm bad with money, or whenever money shows up in my life, it just, it gets frittered away. Is that a word? Flittered? I don't know what the word would be. But they make all of their decisions at the state of their old story, at their old identity. So they engage in the same self-sabotaging behaviors, overspending, not knowing how to manage their money, people manipulating them, right? If they haven't changed, if they haven't become a person who has money, who knows how to handle money at the nervous system level, they will completely repeat the patterns. So the nervous system, the lottery winner curse is a very universal, but I want you to think about this for yourself, where something happened that changed your situation, your external. Maybe you left an abusive marriage, whatever abusive means, and you find this new person and everything seems amazing. And it ends up being like, oh, I just repeated that pattern. Like it's a different person, but it's still abusive or it's still toxic or whatever. We do this with jobs. Everything that we think of like as our identity, the story of who we think we are in any given situation of our life. If we don't change that story at the foundational level, at the nervous system level, then all we're doing is like changing clothes, right? We're not actually going to go from like a person who is in a toxic relationship to a person who's in a healthy relationship if we don't change the story of who we are in a relationship, what we deserve in a relationship, what we want in a relationship. If we don't change that, not just at the cognitive level, right? Like I know I deserve better, but we have to change it at what comes after the but, at the identity level. The way to do this, the way to change your life for real, for good, forever, sustainably, is nervous system first. It's the only way. It's the only way. That is why it's our golden rule. And like I said, if this is the only thing you take from all 290 some episodes of this podcast, it will change your life. Nervous system first. Starting today, starting right now, I want you to be checking in, learning about your nervous system, learning your stories, backwards, forwards, inside out, so you can learn about your stories about your emotions so that you can learn how to feel your feelings instead of shutting down or running away or fighting, so that you can ultimately create the life that you want. Nervous system first. That's it. That's it. That's the golden rule. All right. If you want to do this for real, for life, for good, you want to join Calm AF Life before the things change. I haven't announced how it's changing, but it's changing. You can get started right away. You can go to KristenFinch.com and get all the details about what Calm AF Life is, what it looks like, and you can get started today. Changing your story, changing your default setting on your Calm AF scale to Calm AF instead of hypervigilant or getting off of these self-sabotaging patterns is nervous system first. And I will teach you that inside Calm AF Life. All right, gorgeous soul. See you next time. Thanks for listening. And before you go, one more thing. So as you know, I am slightly obsessed with helping as many humans tap into their calm AFness as possible. So if this podcast has helped you, would you please leave a review, make sure you're subscribed, and share it with your friends. Also, make sure you head on over to KristenFinch.com to see how you can work with me. You can sign up for my emails and get any other goodies I have available. Until next week, I love you so much. I am so grateful that you're here. I'll see you next time.